We are live. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Um, I'm excited.
Yeah.
About our conversation that we're about to have.
Happy Thursday,
Happy
everyone!
Thursday.
Right? Happy Thursday.
Yes, Thursday.
We actually have three audiences. We have our YouTube audience, we have our Facebook audience, and we have our wonderful in-studio audience. So thank you all for being here. Give yourselves a hand for showing up. Thank you so much. We're going to have exciting conversation today. We got a special guest, our dear beloved friend, Crystal. And also our buddy, Alex Matavo with the Black and Brown Coalition. He co-hosts, get Alex in.
Of course.
He co-hosts our community meetings with us. And we do it every second
Thursday.
Second Thursday. We got to get our dates together.
Yeah.
Every second Thursday, we have our community meeting. So I'm going to just ask everyone if you can just, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe to our channel. If you're on Facebook, definitely like our page. And share this. We want people to hear this conversation because it's an important one. We got a lot coming up. There's a lot happening. So that's why I asked Crystal to come, because she got to I can't keep up.
Neither can I.
Every day is something. I cannot keep up. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna talk about all that's going on in the area of politics and even community. And let me just say this before we get started. And I'm still allowing people to join us and tune in. So, and while I'm doing that, just let me tell you about some of the stuff that we have coming up here at the Doc Bookshop. We love August. August is actually, not only is it back to school, the kiddos go back to school, but also it's Black August. And it's Black August. And it's a time for us to reflect. Well, it's a time really for reflection and just remembering, because a lot of things happen in Black history during August. And I don't have all the details in front of me right now. I was trying to pull it up, but the slaves arrived in August. In Jamestown. Haiti Revolution was in August. March on Washington was in August. Nat Turner's Rebellion was in August. It's just a lot of things happen in August. Marcus Garvey was born in August. Barack Obama's birthday is in August. August is just filled with a lot of Black history facts. So that's why they term it Black August. But it actually started with the Black Panther Party. And there's a whole story behind that. And we're going to talk about that on next week at 817 Day. We have 817 Day on August 17th, 817. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some Fort Worth history. We're going to have some authors here, some vendors here. So we're going to be here all day for 817. We got a calendar of things, so definitely visit our website and check that out. And if you can, plan to attend. It's from 12 to 6. It's all day. And we call it 817 Day. Also, we have, what else we got going on? There's a lot going on.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on. We got an Arthur coming up. Phyllis Dixon, she will be here end of the month. We'd love for you to come out and support her.
Well, I think it's key for people to know that Doc Bookshop is working every single day of the year trying to build community. And everyone has an opportunity to visit the Doc Bookshop to buy some books. But Please. You can also visit the Doc Bookshop online and order essentially any book that you may need.
Yes.
So we highly encourage folks that if you're looking to order a book and you want to have it delivered to your house or pick it up here at the bookstore, go to the Doc Bookshop. I love ordering from the Doc Bookshop. It's the best place to support a local bookstore.
And we have some books for you, Greg. I think we may have some. I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to quickly ask Crystal. I didn't give you a list of questions, so we're just going to flow with it.
I flow best. I'm prepared.
So, Crystal, for those who don't know who you are, just tell them who you are. as far as in your, well, you know, you could talk about your lawyer too.
Okay, yeah.
The fullness of Crystal.
The fullness of me.
Even
Wow.
the sorority. She got
All
a lot.
that.
She
All
has a
those
lot of
things.
faces.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Wear a lot of hats.
Thank you both for allowing me the opportunity to use this platform to bring education to our community. I am Crystal Gayden. I am a native of Houston, Texas, born and raised, a graduate of University of Houston. I moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area 20-something years ago. I'm a graduate of Texas Wesleyan School of Law. I practice family law. I've been a family law attorney now for 13 years. In 2022, I ran for judge in Tarrant County. It was probably one of the most rewarding, one of the most difficult things that I ever had to do, run as a Democrat in Tarrant County. But the benefit was I got to meet these two individuals and a lot of people in the room here today. And so the relationships that were formed and built and that have sustained have been tremendously amazing and a blessing in my life. And after taking some time off, I decided that I would step into the role as chair of the Tarrant County Democratic Party. I didn't know what I was thinking at all, but there was definitely something pulling at my hip to put my name out there. And in July of last year, I won the special election, and I've been serving in that position ever since. And it just was definitely just another hinge towards the relationships that had already been created when I ran for judge. And if you don't know what the chair of a party does, but ultimately they are responsible for the party's actions and candidates, recruitment and education of our communities, and the platforms and foundations that support the Democratic Party. And so that's what I've been doing with some great people at our headquarters, helping us make Tarrant.
What? Wait, Alex. Okay, we have mic issues. Can y'all hear Crystal? Okay. Okay, maybe we'll need it.
Okay.
If they can hear.
Can the people online hear?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's
No,
a second mic.
the online can hear. I just want to make sure y'all can hear. If y'all good, then
Y'all were good?
we're not gonna fight that thing today.
Okay, so we're back. That's what happens when you live. You get all the good stuff when you're live.
Especially here at the Doc Bookshop. You can definitely know, honey.
But ultimately, it is a pleasure to be here in the role as chair, in the role as community leader, and role as attorney to join in on the conversation that continues to take place, looks like every month, right?
Yes.
Yeah, every month, and we're actually looking to probably increase the frequency as we get closer to this election,
Absolutely.
which is a big reason why Crystal is here with us. The Forward Black and Brown Coalition was created a couple of years ago around bringing community members together amongst our diverse communities so that we can unite, have conversations around the things that are impacting our families and our communities, from school board to city council to commissioner's court. And of course, when elections come, they impact a number of things. And so with you being here, Crystal, I'd love to get your perspective around this election that's happening in November. Why do you feel like it's such an impactful election from a Tarrant County perspective, and then also just everything that's on the ballot?
Yeah. So, of course, I am a huge advocate of local elections. Of course, the energy and the excitement and the hoorah comes from who's at the top of the ticket, right? And if you were anything like me the last 2 weeks, energy has changed in the last 2 weeks, right? I'm wholly optimistic of what can happen in November. But reality says, and it shows us every single day, that those persons who are lowest at the ballot impact us the most. And so those are your county commissioner races, those are your constable races, city council races, those are your judge races. A lot of times we ignore the judicial races for whatever reason, but a lot of times many of us end up in a courtroom before we'll ever end up in DC, right? And so it's very important that we take action and apply the energy that we have all gained over the last couple of weeks and ensure that not only do we take responsibility at the top of the ballot, but we carry that responsibility all the way down the ballot to the very last candidate on the ballot. And so I'm energized. Like I said, prior to 2 weeks ago, you just weren't sure what was going to happen, right? I was gonna support any candidate as our president, right? It just was going to be what it was going to be. But now to see our youth engaged, to see the different segments of our communities getting together. So we had the Black women call, then the Black men call, then the white woman call, then the white dudes for Kamala call, and then it was the LGBTQIA call. Every portion, all of the groups have gotten together, which definitely speaks
even the
to
church call.
Even the church call. The pastors have had press releases. That speaks to the diversity of the candidate that we have. And so, we're just hoping in Tarrant County, the Tarrant County Democratic Party, that people just don't stop at the top, right? Make sure that at the end of the day, when you go vote, hopefully in early voting, you don't wait till election day. But I know that there are tons of people who like to wait till election day to cast their vote. Either way, please make sure that you go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot.
So when we're looking at the local elections, I'd love to spend a little bit of time getting your thoughts on just some key races that are happening on the local side within Tarrant County that you think could be hugely impactful for the communities of Tarrant County.
So before I answer that, Alex, let me preface it, because as the chair of the Tarrant County Democratic Party, I support every single candidate on that ballot. But the question, y'all, was what are some key races in Tarrant County that I think are going to be impacted by this election? And the first one is our sheriff's race, y'all. I can just drop the mic right there, right? If y'all watch the news, if you read the paper, if you're on social media, constantly, day after day, week after week, we're having these travesties that are happening in our jails, right? People's lives are at stake. And I used to practice criminal defense, but there is no reason why a person who has been incarcerated, who's awaiting trial, who's awaiting the process, should have to go into a facility and wonder whether they will see their family again. So there are some things that are taking place in our jail that unfortunately is coming to light, right? This isn't anything that's brand new. It has always been there. And we have the benefit of our own Commissioner Simmons, who is spreading the information and she's bringing it to light. And so there's responsibilities in our county, and those responsibilities are being brushed under the rug. They're being kicked over. They're being ignored. And so our sheriff race, our Democratic candidate is Patrick Moses. He's running to replace Bill Wayburn. And Bill Wayburn has been, yes, thank you. Thank you. He's running to replace Bill Wayburn. I don't have to speak ill will about another candidate. You can go do your research and you can find out what's happening in our jails. We have an individual who has an immense background. He's overqualified to run for this position. And it's so funny when I say that, because a lot of the Democrats on our ticket are overqualified for those roles, right? I know that past former President Trump has tried to disrespect and belittle the education, skill, and experience of Vice President Harris. But we know she is qualified. She checks all the boxes she checks all the boxes. And so the same for Patrick Moses. And as we're talking about the things that are happening in our county and the control on who's in control. And right now, Commissioner's Court, it is operated and run by 5 elected officials. And it is partisan. It is very partisan. You can see by every vote how the votes land, how partisan it is. And what that basically means is we have 3 persons on the court that are Republican, and we have 2 that are Democrat. And in order for anything to pass, you got to count to 3 on every single vote, right? And so if our 2 Democrats always vote the same, the most that they'll ever get is 2 votes, because there are 3 Republicans on the other side who, for the most part, will not vote in agreement with them. And so we have an opportunity in November to change the trajectory, to change the power, to change the ownership of who's in control in the county in November by electing Laura Lehman, who's running for County Commissioner Precinct 3.
Remember that name.
Please remember that name. Her name is Laura Lehman. Now, Patrick Moses is running a county-wide race. So if you live in any of the 42 cities and municipalities, he will be on your ballot as the Democratic candidate in Tarrant County for sheriff. Laura Lehman, however, her position is based upon where you live, right? And so she's running in precinct number 3. That's more further north of Tarrant County. Doesn't mean you can't support her. So as much as we may not be able to vote for her, we can support her by spreading her name around our communities, because there may be someone that you know that may live in precinct 3, and we can support her financially. If you know anything about running a race in Tarrant County as a Democrat, your Republican opponent is going to outspend you, outraise you 5-1. And so sending her $5, $10, or $20 would help her be able to get her name amongst the people who live in her precinct, and as well as people who we need to remember her name when we go to the polls. So we got Patrick Moses, who can change what our county looks like in our jails, and much more. There's a lot more that needs to be addressed when we talk about our sheriff's candidate in that particular race. And then Laura Lehman, who can assist us in flipping our county court to make it look more like us and have different policies come down that are more inclusive of the community that it serves. And then
before we jump to any other races,
Great.
I just want to highlight a few things on these 2 races that you've done such a great job of highlighting for folks. We just put a link in the Facebook and YouTube pages of the Doc Bookshop that talks about an article that was published today by the Fort Worth Report that talks about the sheriff's unwillingness to implement policy changes that could make an impact around what is causing so much destruction to people's lives and families within Tarrant County and the experiences that they're having. So it's really important for people to know that 66 people have died in the jail since Wayborn's been elected, and this year 2 jailers have been indicted for murder for one of those deaths that happened within the jail. And the one thing that hasn't happened is that the community and the family has demanded that the full tape get released around what happened with Anthony Johnson Jr. And the sheriff is refusing to release the full tape. And so we are starting an effort, which has already been happening from the family and community members, but we're trying to get it spread more, where we want folks to contact the county commissioner's court and contact the sheriff to demand the release of the full tape. Now, our Texas Attorney General has told Sheriff Wayborn that he's not required to. He doesn't have to, so he feels protected by that communication from the Attorney General. We want the sheriff to listen to the community of Tarrant County and demand that this tape get released, because we honestly feel, and the family definitely feels, because of this tragedy, that this tape would bring to light a lot of the things that need to change in Tarrant County. And so we highly encourage folks to be a part of that effort to help us demand the release of that tape. And check out that article from the Fort Worth Report, which is just the latest in showing how our sheriff is not doing his job and how our sheriff is putting people's lives in danger. Because there's something you said, Crystal, around people awaiting trial, right? So there's people who are in the jail that were arrested, but they have not had their day in court.
Absolutely.
And what we've seen from other reports is that people spend more time in jail if they do get convicted. If they do get charged and convicted of something, they will have ended up spending more time in jail than they actually needed to.
Sure.
And then we also have a large amount of folks who have mental illness that need support in that space.
Right.
And instead of being in a facility to help support them, they're being put in the jail.
Absolutely.
And the folks in the jail are not equipped to be able to serve those community members in that space, in that capacity, which is also contributing to a lot of this harm, mistreatment, and unfortunately deaths that are happening.
Right. And so that speaks to the type of person that we want that controls the decisions that are being made. And so we talk about just basic humanity and compassion, right? Why wouldn't you want to train your officers on identifying mental health issues? No one's asking you to treat it, but let's identify it so that we can put those persons in the right and proper facility. And so those are some of the initiatives that Patrick Moses, who's running to be your next Tarrant County Sheriff, is working on implementing once elected.
And we have a person online, Peyton Jackson, who's correcting me. 68 people have died in our Tarrant County Jail. So thanks, Peyton, for that unfortunate update and increased number.
Let's talk about the funding.
Sure.
You mentioned fundraising for especially the local elections. Talk about the importance of that, because I don't think a lot of people realize the need, and I think that's why a lot of other groups are leading, because it takes money.
It takes money. So, by show of hands, how many of you are going to become exhausted come late October, early November, when you turn on your TV and the radio and every other commercial or ad is going to be a candidate asking for your vote, right? You're going to be exhausted. But think about the persons whose faces that you're going to see. Those are going to be people who are running to be your senator, who are running to be your president. You're not likely going to see persons who are running to be your county commissioner or your sheriff, okay? And however, we've already established that those persons are probably the most important persons who are going to be on your ballot. And so when we talk about fundraising, I mean, I know y'all, if y'all are anything like me, Beto and I were probably in a relationship, because when he was running, I was getting a text from Beto every single morning. It was like, good morning, love. Good night, love. And now it's a whole set of different candidates who have, however they got my number, we are on a first name basis. And they're asking me to donate them $5 and $10 because they understand that the money is used to put their faces and their names in front of more voters. The more that you become trained in seeing the name and seeing the face and hearing the name, whether you are politically engaged in what's happening when you get to the polls, and whether you did your research or not, it's going to be something about, I saw Beto's name every single time, or I saw Colin's name. That's who keeps texting me every morning. Colin Allred. That's my new boyfriend right now, because it's me and Colin every day, all day. But pay attention to the persons that are locally asking you for money. Those persons are probably asking you for $5 or $10, because at some point in time, really soon, probably by the end of the week, there are going to be signs at the end of the corners of your streets and on your highways. Those signs cost money. Those signs are branding. Those signs are educating you that this person is going to be on the ballot, and those things cost money. In Tarrant County, which is, people are saying it's still red, I think it's purplish. I think it's trending more blue every single election. But the reality is, the Republican counterparts are raising and will raise, without question, 5 times more than what a Democrat candidate will raise. And so no one wants to ask strangers for money, but it's for a reason, it's for a purpose, it's for a cause, and it's to make sure that they can win the election simply by putting their name out in as many spaces as possible: TV, radio, print, signs, all the things. And as much as those things don't vote, and we say that every single day, signs don't vote, but you want people to go to the polls who have remembered your name. And I think this is a very educated room. I think y'all are like me, and you do your research and you take your paper with you with your list of candidates that you're going to support. But the majority of people don't do that. If we can get them to the polls, we hope that they make the right decision. And so candidates bank on their sign being the last thing that a person would have saw as they're walking into the polls to cast a ballot. So don't be afraid to send Colin $5. Don't be afraid to send Patrick Moses 10. Don't be afraid to send Laura Lehman 20.
They need it.
Yeah, I think it's so important, because with enthusiasm, we've seen, hundreds of millions of dollars
Raised for Kamala.
get raised for the presidential candidate,
Yes.
which, it's a national election,
It
so there's
is.
a lot of work that's going to be done. But a lot of that money came from Tarrant County also. And where Tarrant County residents are sending money out of our county to a national election, that if we had a portion of those stay here, then we could have the funds to help organize and communicate and inform and just outreach to
Yes.
our neighbors and our
100%.
community members. And so I think as folks are looking for those opportunities, and whether you are giving money or whether you have influence to folks who are giving money, that we look at how we are prioritizing our resources
Right.
in Tarrant
Right.
County so that we can have the resources for our communities and for our efforts to be able to make the change. Because one thing that people may not know is that Tarrant County is the third largest county in Texas. It's 2.1 million people.
Yes.
And it is the largest county in the country that still has a Republican, countywide wins. And we don't have as much diversity of our countywide election
Right.
representatives, and our judicial races that you were talking about are all Republicans,
Every one of them.
which is not what we see in other counties that are our size
Right.
throughout the country and throughout the state.
Right.
And so a big part of that is not that we have different voters or that people are different than the makeup of a lot of urban counties like our size. It's just that we don't have the infrastructure to outreach to our community members. And that is where resources are really important to help us
Absolutely.
be effective with that.
Absolutely.
So the next question I think we want to ask Crystal before we go to some audience questions is, what are some of the other elements about this election that you think are really important when we hear things like Project 2025,
Yeah.
or we hear things about, what the campaign with Kamala and now there's a VP announcement that was made this week with the Minnesota governor being a part of the ticket, Governor Walz.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you think are going to be talked about nationally that people in Tarrant County need to be aware of?
Sure. So one of the things that we can just touch on briefly, because I'm not as versed as I would want to be on Project 25, but anything that President Trump is pushing is a no-go for me. It just is what it is, right? And so because I'm not as educated on things, and as an attorney, I've been trained, you don't speak on stuff that you're not educated on completely. I'm going to ask and urge each of you to do your diligent research and educate yourselves on Project 2025. It is a very lengthy document, but there have been so many organizations and persons who have trimmed it down to the information that you need to know that is applicable to you. I'm going to just say, you can trust Joy Reid. She's a soror of mine. She's very educated in her journalism. She has put on lots of information regarding what that is, what it stands for, how it impacts you, how it impacts your children, your grandchildren, your education, those who receive Social Security benefits, and all the like. And it's usually those persons that look like this room who are going to be impacted by it. So definitely avail yourselves of that information. And the national ticket, as much as, like I said, I am energetic and energized about what's happening at the top of the ticket, my focus every day, all day, is what's happening here in Tarrant County. And so one of the things, as I was looking over and spying as what you were looking at, he had Alex pulled up the check your ballot or check your voting. What was it? Your voter registration. Yeah, your voter lookup. I'm encouraging every person. I don't care if you voted every year since you turned 18 years old. You need to look up your voting registration, your voter registration. You go online, look it up, put in your information. It'll let you know what's on your ballot. It'll let you know where you can go vote. And it'll let you know if your name has somehow been removed from the voting polls. It is happening. Not so much in Tarrant County, but it is happening. People's names are being purged every single day. And it's not illegal to do so. The issue is, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna preface it because I may get my dates wrong or my time frame wrong. But if you hadn't voted in, let's say, a period of 10 years, your name can be removed, right? Probably people haven't been doing that as much. But now, of course, it is being done now more and more and more often, right? Why? because people are waking up, they're becoming more engaged, they're becoming more involved, and they're getting out and voting. So whether you have voted every single election since you turned 18, whether you just got registered to vote a week ago, whatever it is, make sure you check your voter registration every single time you get ready to vote, and then be prepared to vote. We ask people all the time, make a plan and go vote early. For whatever reason, stuff happens on election day. It's traffic, you get stuck at work, the kids get sick. Something always happens on election day. And so the best thing to do is go ahead and cast your vote early. You can even vote this early voting cycle one of the weekends. I say go vote on the weekend. You got souls to the polls. Miss Melinda's telling me something about something in the audience. But go, huh? Oh, okay. So in the audience, y'all can't see.
And we also put a link in the Facebook and YouTube, thanks to Chris Tackett, that there's a link to learn more about Project 2025 as well.
Gotcha. So online and in the studio audience, there's the information about Project 2025 happening right now. But it's the things that we take for granted. Checking your voter registration, making sure you have proper and valid ID. Right now, you can still vote anywhere in the county on election day and even during early voting. So if you work in Mansfield, but you live in Fort Worth, you can vote in any one of those cities. Now, I'm gonna tell you this: we better make sure we elect Laura Lehman, because the word on the street in Commissioner's Court is they're trying to stop countywide voting. Go back to the days where you could only vote in your precinct. Now, again, I just like to shoot straight from the hip. It benefits a certain segment of our community to be able to vote anywhere in the county, right? If I could only vote in my precinct, it may be a little bit hindering for me to be able to do so. And so that is lines too long or whatever it is, right? And so those are conversations that are being had, votes that are likely going to be pushed to limit our voting ability to only being able to vote in our precinct. And so, of course, that's the importance of making sure that we have persons in Commissioner's Court that understand what their community looks like. And so check your voter registration, vote early. If you want to stop them people from calling your phone, asking you to go vote for them, I have learned the key. Go vote early. Because then what they do is they check your name off of their list and they won't call you no more. You won't get another text message. You won't get another call. But so go ahead and vote early. And what else did you want me to say, Alex?
We're going to
questions. We can go to questions now. So we're going to open it up to the folks we have in person here.
So they have any questions, and I'm going to check the chat.
Anybody like to ask questions about this election? Or
Why? I'm looking in this room, and this was to me, it was like kumbaya. You know, it should have been a sit-in. This place should have been packed. Why is it that there's so few people? And this is a major election. Why can't we get people out to hearing events to find out information? Information you gave me, some of I knew. I met the guy's running from the sheriff. I've had him. I talked to him. And when I knew about that, only because I was in the setting that he was, and I invited him out. Why is it that there's nobody here, or very few people here? What can we do to do that? I work the election post every election.
Yeah.
I actually met her working at the election post years ago. We go to election polls and we're there from 7 to 7, sometimes from 6 to 8. And very few people are there voting. I went to and worked an election. Only 6 people came in there the entire day. What are we doing wrong? What do we need to do to change this?
I have an answer I'd like to.
Go ahead.
You want to go first?
Go
Got
ahead.
some ideas?
So, as somebody who spends a lot of time talking, working, collaborating with organizers in the community who are community leaders, you know, they either have a role with an organization or they're just independently a community leader who's just trying to do good work in the community. One of the things that we've been trying to work on in Tarrant County is encouraging everyone to amplify and communicate together.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now our communication to our community is very fractured. And so we have folks who have trusted relationships, trusted networks, and that's great to have on maybe particular work or particular effort. But when we have things like an election, or we have things that are around a big county issue like what's happening with the jails, we need to be able to build the capacity as fellow organizers and community leaders to be able to work and collaborate and communicate together. And I think that's one thing that has been really important around us building the Fourth Black and Brown Coalition and talking to a lot of different leaders and having different conversations over the last couple of years, and also a lot of other efforts that have been done. There's a reluctance in Tarrant County for people to stand with each other in a unified and big way. And a lot of times it has to do because of how our county financially incentivizes people to go about the work that they're doing within the community. That's an impact. Some of it also is because we just haven't spent the time to build relationships, to build trust with each other. And so we need more spaces where we can see each other, spend time with each other, and have that intentionality around that. There's a lot of different things people are fighting in our community. And so there's also a part of it where people are just exhausted. They're fighting, they're working. Now I see Tina here. They've been fighting around environmental issues and the industrial zoning and Stop 6 Echo Heights Environment Coalition, part of the Fort Worth Environment Coalition of Communities. All that building and all that's taken so much time to just get people to stand together, right? And I think that's the thing that we've got to help them. If you're a leader in the community and if you have influence and if you have networks, we've got to seek each other out and be more intentional around working together. That's really, really important before we can demand the masses to say, come follow us. We've got to work together. And I think that's something that's still essentially needed in Tarrant County.
Great response. I will just simply say, the battle each day in the role that I am in is what we deal with daily in life, right? Right now, we are competing with the Olympics. We're competing with people who got to get their kids ready for school next week, right? It is the first of the month, and so that comes with all the issues surrounding the first of the month, right? People are exhausted with Kamala, and people are exhausted with Biden, and people are exhausted with Trump.
Politics.
People are just exhausted with it all, right? And why would I want to come sit at the Doc's bookstore to talk more about stuff that I'm already exhausted about? And so those are the people who probably definitely need to be in this room. Those are the people who we are trying to impact every single day to get to the polls. But it is what we call voter apathy, right? There are just so many things that are happening in our lives every single day that this issue, this topic is not priority to those persons. And so what I encourage people to do that show up is take this information and dissect it amongst your networks, right? And so we'll be having a retreat this weekend. So whatever you gather today, Miss Audrey, please share that information with those who show up at the retreat this weekend. And of course, Miss James, we know she always in the streets doing the things that we want everybody to be doing. And so she will share this information as well. That's the best that we can do is show up and share the information. And
also this is a on demand
Yes.
society now.
yes,
That's why we are going live, and we have it on YouTube. We have it on our Facebook, and of course you can share it onto your pages. And so
yeah,
hopefully the word and the message will spread in that manner as well.
Yeah.
That's why we're.
We'll take one more question from the audience, and then we got one online, and then we'll go back to the audience.
Question. So this Saturday, we'll actually be in San Diego Apartments, and we'll actually be feeding the community, but we'll also be registering people to vote as well. And so not only are we feeding the students or the children, but we're trying to get their parents to come out and engage with us as registering them to vote.
yeah.
Good deal. That's good.
The apartments are right behind you. They've been having like a lot of violence and stuff, so we're just trying to go and talk to the community and teach them about the importance of non-violence and the gun violence, passing out gun locks and things like that, just to educate about the safety of not only them but their family and their children.
That's great.
We have flyers and they're actually posted online. They're flyers, but I can see the flyer online. Yes, ma'am.
I think we have a question here in the back.
Just real quick, I know where the question comes. Does a voting map that every election you can go pull it. It's dismal in certain areas, less than 10%. And if you take the voting map, you take the crime map, you put one on top of each other, they coincide. There are a lot of similarities, just like my sister James getting ready to do. That area over there is less than 10%.
Yeah.
If we, and there are community centers in each of those areas, you have activists in each of those areas. Something like this should be going door to door. I know we got social media, I know, but everybody's not on social media.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you drop a flyer in people's doors saying that 68 deaths in Tarrant County Jail, we need a new sheriff.
Yeah.
That would give a little bit more impact.
Oh, yeah.
Paper doesn't cost that much, and if you have teams to go out in those areas and put them and spread them out and start shaking hands and kissing faces, I think we would get a little bit better impact. Yeah, I mean, social media definitely do that as well, but I think we need a two-pronged approach to start knocking on doors.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
boots on the ground. You got to have that.
Absolutely. Let's connect that for this. So
You know, last Sunday, we did a rolling nonviolence, rolling in cars, where we connected with all of the funeral homes, even out of Dallas. We had one out of Turtle. And so we rode through the communities with caskets in the back. And so my slogan is belts, not bullets. I don't have a problem with moving my child.
Amen.
And so with that being said, it's called belts, not bullets. And so therefore, if you actually discipline your child at home and get them to understand the importance of not being in gangs and selling drugs and gun violence and things like that, with their belt, they'll be a little bit more reluctant to go out there and get in trouble when they know they have to come home and deal with mom as well.
all right, we do have a question online I want to highlight before we go to an in-person question again. Valdell Jones asked, how do we get help on the disrespect and them changing the laws and how they're being run and getting to the bottom of these families, just leaving family members in the hospital and also good folks that need help. This is in reference to the county jails.
Yeah.
Any information will help in terms of how we can get help for those family members that are impacted by the county jails.
I had a conversation with Ms. Jane, 2 days ago? And she asked a similar question. What do we do to stop the oppression? What do we do to stop the unilateral decisions that are being made that are one-sided in our county, right? And what I say, we got to vote. We have to vote. I mean, the people that are in power are elected officials, right? They had enough vote. They had one more vote than their opponent, and that's how they got elected. And, you know, let me say this. We can picket, we can march, we can protest, we can have these wonderful meetings, and we can educate. But until we get to the point where we understand that the second step, the second prong to all that we're doing is to get out and vote and drag people to the polls, it is going to continue to be the same. It is going to continue to be the same. If you want to have someone who can support these families, because Commissioner Simmons is doing the best that she can to support these families. If you want to have that voice, then you have to ensure that there is more than 2 votes on Commissioner's Court. We always have to count to 3 when there is issues that are happening in our county. So I hate to sound repetitive. I hate to sound like, is that the answer to everything? It's the answer to that question. If we want to see change, we have to do something about it. And what we do about it is we go vote. And we elect persons that we think value and understand the things that we value.
Yeah, and I think it's just really important that, you know, there is no silver bullet in any of this, right?
Right.
But we have to take necessary steps towards the solutions, and voting is absolutely one that we have to utilize.
And I'm gonna say this: looks like Peyton Jackson said we got to do more than vote. We have to run. Hey, I'm a fan of that. That's part 3. But let's go vote, right? Let's go vote. And then if you have voted somebody in office and you don't think that they're doing what they should have been doing, the promises that they made, you go run.
It doesn't stop at voting.
It doesn't, right?
But it definitely has to be a part of our story.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, it does.
And that then leads to advocacy. Then that leads to building community together. And at the end of the day, it's about building power. And if we do, protests are important.
Yes.
Showing it to commissioner courts, giving public comments, school board meetings, those are all important to demand the things that we're wanting. But as Crystal says, those demands have to translate into us building power together.
Okay.
And when we are building power together and we have representation and we have each other, then we can have the things that we want in our
Absolutely.
county, in our schools, in our cities.
Absolutely.
And
We got another question here in the back.
I got a statement and then I got a question. First off, I continue to hear Crystal just made the statement that you guys continue to blame the voters why we don't vote. Throughout the years, we have voted. Some of the candidates y'all put up have been a disaster. Putting up disaster candidates, then they get in office, and there's a repeated cycle. It done beat the voters down. It done beat the voters down to so much. Why get out and vote? And it's just every 2 years that we get this vote, and then with some getting office, they don't do what they promised they're gonna do, and it just Tarrant County is just being a disaster. So and where is Patrick? Where he at? I don't see him nowhere.
You talking about the sheriff candidate?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't see him nowhere. Where he at? He's not even. What's going on in the county? He should be on everybody interviewing. He should be on social media. Only person I see on the Democrat side is Lehman Warren. Lehman. That's the
Laura
only person I
Lehman.
see. Where
Laura
the other
Lehman.
candidates at?
Yeah.
So
So
Roderick, where he at? We don't see him.
You see Roger.
I want to speak to your first comment as far as the exhaustion that we've seen, right? We get out and vote, we elect, and we get some disastrous candidates, and we're just tired of it, right?
Exactly.
How many of you tired of paying car insurance?
You gotta pay the college.
And you gotta pay. And you gotta pay.
You talk about young voters. You're talking about young voters that already don't believe in the system.
Understood. And young voters is one thing. I'm talking about grown folks who have seen the struggle, right? We can't continue to say, oh, y'all done put up some disastrous candidates, just forget it. You know what you have to do? You have to hold those disastrous candidates and those disastrous elected officials accountable. Once they get elected, that's not the end of the road. You have to show up to commissioners court and hold them accountable. You have to show up to the city council meetings every week and hold them accountable. You have to knock on their doors and you have to send them emails and you have to ask them, where are you? Because when November come around, you're going to be knocking on my door asking for my vote. So it's more than just voting, right? You have to hold them accountable. And then after that 2 years or that 4 years has come up and you've given them ample opportunity to prove themselves, go vote somebody else in. Right? But once they get elected and you decide you don't want to vote anymore, that's how we get people in office that are sitting in office cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle because we've just decided, well, forget it. They there, they might as well just stay there. That can't be the response. So if you're disgusted, I'm disgusted as well. They are elected. They are elected. That means they can be unelected. We don't have to re-elect them. We can encourage somebody else to run in the office that we can support. I'll let the other panel talk about your second response, but I agree with you 1,000% on that. But it's more than just voting. We have to hold those persons accountable. But you know what? I am going to talk to point two because they're my candidates, right? Point two is my candidate. I agree. We have got to do a better job of putting our candidates in your faces, right? The fact that you heard about Laura Lehman, I am proud to hear that you know about Laura Lehman.
But she's not the only one running on the court, ain't she? She's not the only one. We got one running for Brooks seat, right?
Yes, that's Roderick Miles. He's running for precinct 1.
I don't see him no more.
Okay.
The only one I don't
That falls on me as the chair of the Tarrant County Democratic Party. I have got to do my part to make sure that my candidates get in your faces. And so you just held me accountable. You showed up and you held me accountable. So be sure tomorrow when you start seeing those names and those faces, I want you to call me back, okay? I want you to say, I see them now, Ms. Gayden. I see them now, yes.
And I'm gonna have your back because then I'm gonna talk to Crystal and talk to these candidates. And as an organizer,
I see Laura and Cindy,
Yeah.
two candidates
Everywhere, right?
everywhere.
But that has got to be the case for every single candidate.
as an organizer, we've had conversations in the community with some of these candidates about you are not doing enough. You need to be
Right,
out
that's
there
good,
more,
yes.
and we are pushing them. And y'all being here and saying this gives us the momentum to continue to push them. But at the end of the day, let's say they're not adequate in terms of what they're doing, right? Well, guess what? election comes around, local elections in May, where we have the mayor and city council and school board. In 2 years, we're going to have midterm elections for the governor and the House, the Texas House, and other big statewide seats, attorney general, and we'll have other commissioner courts on that seat as well. The county judge will be on that election as well. And in 4 years from now, these county commissioners are going to be on the ballot again for precinct 1 and precinct 3.
Right.
So it just doesn't end. What it means for us is we assess, we see who did the adequate job, who didn't do the adequate job, who got in office, who didn't support our communities,
Right.
who passed policies that hurt us, or who passed policies that helped us, and then we go at it again. This is not a one and done deal. We have to keep going, and we have to keep the momentum going, and we need to be able to lean on each other.
Right.
Because we all have families, we are part of communities, or have careers, or whatever we're doing. So we've got to be able to lean on each other. So if Tina James and the environmental group is doing amazing work at city council and they're leading on the front lines, the least we can do is pay attention, right? And so that if we do need to step up at a certain point, we're available. But they're the ones who are telling us they're going to lead the line, so let's support them. Let's make sure that we're supporting them. The Doc Bookshop is making space for us to come together as a community, to have these conversations. Let's support them, right? It's about how do we help those who are taking on this work to make sure that we're supporting them, but also being available and being ready when we can, right? And if we can make that commitment to each other, then we have all the power we need to make the changes that we want. But we've got to be able to show up for each other.
So one of the things that you mentioned just a second ago about 2 to 4 years, but in the midst of those 2 to 4 years, a lot of damage has been done.
You're absolutely right.
And so with that said, it's not just about power, it's about creating trust back with your community. Because I'm just gonna go back like I told Crystal the other day. Here y'all go, chump. This man is a convicted felon, done so much, but you haven't saw not one of his supporters fall off. No, soon Biden got out there and created a little stumbling with this conversation, everybody started jumping ship. But what I'm trying to say is, it's not even about the funds. It's about, you can tell what type of leader you got about the followers you got. So if he snapped his hand, they was up there at the White House creating an insurrection, and they left their families, their jobs, their careers to put their lives on the line for this man who kind of threw his head up in the air. Remember, he threw the head up in the air. We have to find someone that has that same type of to make people follow, be it in our community,
But
be
we
it in
gotta
our
be
city.
support.
Like, right, I'm gonna just say this. When Crystal was running, I don't even know if this woman slept. Sometimes you would see with eye boogers, and I didn't say nothing. I'm just saying. Really did. I'm just saying. She was there every time you turned around. She was somewhere. She was somewhere.
I know you're.
She had a bottle of water in her hand. She had her tennis shoes on, and she was somewhere.
Yeah, work.
And so, even though Miles is running, you gotta see that we haven't really. And I brought it to his attention. The thing is, we gotta get out the cliques. Because I know you, I'm gonna vote for you. Not because I think you're doing a good job, but because we're friends. Oh, that's my classmate. I had a lady told me one day she voted for someone who was on city council strictly because it was a classmate. And then, like, less than 2 minutes, she turned around, her and her husband started talking to her. That sucker don't do nothing, don't. So I'm just saying, it's about the cliques and the friendship. You gotta get past it, because at the end of the day, my kids' future is mine. That's my fight. At the end of the day, my children are not for sale. My community is not for sale. Their education is not for sale. So that means if I have to walk down the middle of Miller and Berry by myself with a sign saying we need to make change so my kids can have adequate education in a safer community and be able to go without worrying about being shot and hurt, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's how we have to feel about it.
Well, we want to thank everyone for coming today, showing up in person. It's a beautiful thing to always share community space with folks. Thank everyone for being online with us and all the questions that you put in. There's still some questions that are there that if you have a chance to take a look at, there's one here that may be interesting to respond to.
Okay.
Definitely keep putting your questions online. We'll take a look at it after we're done here.
Before you
But-
answer that question, say, are you a registered voter?
Right. But this is just one piece, right? And it's every step we take, it's every action we take, it's every conversation we have
Right.
around building trust, building community, and building this power together so that we can have the city, the county, the state, the country that we all want to have together. So thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Bookshop, for hosting.
Yes.
Any final words before we go?
Let me say this real quickly. I know we got 2 minutes. After November 5th, everything will go back to normal, so to speak, right? There was a poll that recently went out that said that they polled Republicans and they polled Democrats, and we pretty much all wanted the same thing, right? We want safe communities. We want good roads. We want good education for our children. Like we all ultimately want the same thing. And what I've been seeing is nothing but hate, divisiveness, because I say vote blue and somebody else says vote red, right? Listen, believe what you want to believe, support who you want to support. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out how to come together for the good of our community, for the good of our children, for the good of our county. Because so long as we're letting the divisiveness happen, the vote won't matter at some point in time. Okay. So all I say is do your vote, do your thing, do your business, but don't let it control your emotions. Don't hate your brother, your neighbor, your friend because they want to vote, in my opinion, not as educated as you might want to vote. Right? Y'all can read in between the lines and figure out, because I'm the chair of the Tarrant County Democratic Party. Y'all can figure out what I mean by that. But ultimately, y'all continue to love one another, love on one another, because at the end of the day, this isn't going to control our lives all day, every day. So that's my 2 cents.
All right.
Thanks,
We're
everyone.
signing off.